Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys get to pick and choose the gun and configuration that I run with. To do this, all you have to do is leave a comment down below letting me know the gun and setup you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top rated comments for the next episode of Loadout. Today's top comment comes from Lixin the Grunt. He says Vietnam loadout. Now if you guys remember, last week's episode was the World War II loadout with the SKS and iron sights. This time it's M16A3 iron sights, heavy barrel, bipod, so that I can run with a grenade launcher separately. The M1911 playing on Caspian Border, so it looks kind of like a Vietnam jungle or maybe Sharkey Peninsula. If you play on Rush, be sure to get in the Huey and play Fortunate Son. Now what's actually funny about that is that in Battlefield Vietnam, the standalone game, you could actually turn on the radio in any vehicle you got into, and Fortunate Son was one of the songs on there. I used to like to play Nowhere to Run To Baby, Nowhere to Hide, while flying around the Cobra attack helicopter and just destroying guys on the ground. Good times. Now before the M16A3 whiners out there start complaining that I'm playing with the M16A3, this was actually the top rated comment last episode of Loadout, so you guys clearly wanted to see me play with the M16A3 and iron sights. Now unfortunately it was hard to get some good full games of Caspian Border. The maps would either rotate a lot or there just weren't a lot of full 64 player games, which is honestly what you want to be playing for heavy infantry combat on the Caspian Border maps. Now the servers ended up switching around a little bit. Here's playing Karg Island, but right after this kill streak here, I ended up going over to Armored Shield Team Deathmatch. And that map is actually extremely good for sort of reenacting the Vietnam War sequence, because you've got a lot of destructible buildings and a ton of foliage to hide in. So that map actually ended up being really cool for trying to get the feeling of the Vietnam thing going, and making really good use out of my grenade launchers, because pretty much everything in that map is destructible. Alright, so how is it using the M16A3 without my favorite Cobra sights or perhaps red dot sight on there? The iron sights aren't bad. They're not great, but compared to stuff like the FAMAS's iron sights, they're a dream. They're definitely playable. I feel like I probably would have been significantly more effective with Cobra sights on there, just because the iron sights do allow you to lose your target quite a bit, and you spend a little bit more time moving around trying to find your target, trying to line up the shot, than you would with say the Cobra sights or red dot. Now believe it or not, it's actually been a while since I've played with the M16A3, and it is a joy to get back to this nice high rate of fire, great accuracy, and the extremely fast reload time. Now there's been debate whether or not the M416 or the M16A3 is a better weapon. I think they're better at individual situations. I still think the M16A3 is probably one of the most adaptable weapons in the game, even since its recent nerf, which gave it a bit higher pull to the right on its recoil. So you have to do a bit more recoil compensation with the weapon, making it slightly less effective at longer ranges than it once used to be, giving the M416 kind of an edge in long range combat. But for this kind of medium range urban combat here on Armored Shield Team Deathmatch, it's absolutely perfect. Now the one thing that probably would have made this setup better for Team Deathmatch is putting a suppressor on this weapon. A lot of the top players in this server were running around with suppressed assault rifles, sneaking around quite a bit. And this is the perfect map to do it on, because there's so many avenues, so many ways that you can go. Keeping yourself off the minimap when you sneak up behind somebody and put a few rounds in them is just such a huge advantage. You know, I play off the minimap so much, a lot of other players play off the minimap so much, and what I mean by that is you look at the minimap to acquire your next targets. There'll be a lot of times where you see me sort of aiming at a corner or getting ready for somebody to pop around a corner. That's because I see them pop on the minimap. I'm waiting for them to come around that corner. Now if you got a suppressed weapon, you're never going to show up on that minimap, so you're going to have that huge advantage. Now the grenade launcher is particularly useful on this map, just because, as you can see below me here, there's so many concrete walls, and check it out. I'm going to drop off here. I know that there's a guy behind this wall. Shoot a hole in it. I was actually planning on just sneaking up behind him, but apparently I got close enough to actually take him out with the grenade launcher there. But you can actually just make your own paths through this map with the grenade launcher. Sometimes there'll be guys fighting at either end of a wall. Why not just blow a hole in the middle of the wall, run through there, and you can flank them. It just provides you with so many options. This is kind of reminds me a lot of the Bad Company 2 fighting style, where you would have all these open cities that you could just punch holes through any building wall. You could go into buildings. You could punch a hole in the back side of the building, go out of the building. You didn't have to use any of the doors, and it really just allowed you to blaze your own trail through the maps. This is one of the few maps in Battlefield 3 that actually really allows you to play more like that. Now, I will say the iron sights on this map actually became a bigger hindrance than they were before, just because there's so many objects, foliage, and random things scattered around the maps for enemies to hide behind. You really do have to scan your target area much more carefully, and doing that with iron sights becomes more difficult just because you do have something in the way sort of blocking your vision. Again, Cobra sights would have been a huge benefit on this map particularly. Now, why is the M16A3 possibly one of the best weapons for this map? Well, I've talked about, at least in numerous videos, about how the M16 is sort of the king of versatility, and this map is sort of the best example of having close quarters, medium range, and long range environments. As you can see behind this rock here, I've got guys sneaking up on the rock, and then off in the distance, there's guys further away, and there can be snipers even further away. And so the M16 is actually effective at all of these weapons, at all of these ranges. It's not the best at every individual range, but it's extremely effective at each of those ranges. So this is, again, just a really great map for the M16A3. It's got a nice high rate of fire at 800 rounds per minute, doing 25 damage maximum, making it a 4-shot kill, and an extremely fast 4-shot kill, especially if you nab a headshot in there or two. You can drop them extremely fast. Now, I mentioned how the right pull was kind of high. It's a right pull of 0.4 and a left pull of 0.1. So this thing pulls to the right significantly more than other weapons out there. And as long as you can sort of master that recoil, you shouldn't have too much problem controlling this weapon. That might be something a little bit more difficult to do on consoles. I'm not sure how left to right recoil management is done with analog sticks, but I just imagine it being a little bit trickier than the vertical recoil. And of course, nobody's going to complain with a 1.8 second reload time, or short reload time, for the M16A3. The only assault rifle that actually beats out the M16A3 is the M416, which only clocks in at 1.75, so they're almost identical reload speeds. This is just such a good reload speed for close quarters. You really don't have to think too much about reloading or switching to your sidearm, just because the speed at which you can switch to your sidearm is almost the same speed at which you reload the gun in the first place. So there's not too many situations where guys are going to sneak up on you mid-reload with the M16A3, and that's just a great thing about the weapon. So far, these thematic loadouts have been pretty fun, with the SKS for the World War II setup and the M16A3 for the Vietnam setup. I kind of like them a lot. It's a little bit tricky finding specific maps sometimes, just because if I'm playing maybe in non-peak hours, trying to find a good full map on a specific map can be a little bit trickier, just because servers are starting to empty out a little bit more. I'm really pumped for Aftermath, though. I think it's going to really boost the numbers back up for Battlefield 3 for a while. I think the gameplay on Aftermath is probably going to be some of the best that we see in Battlefield 3. That's just based on what I've seen from the trailer so far, so obviously I don't know, but it looks really great, so I'm pumped for that. It's coming out for the PC on the 4th, and you lucky PlayStation 3 users are getting it a week early. So that's it for this episode of Loadout. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to leave your comments down below letting me know what to run with for next week, and I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.